Alright, what's poppin', people? We are here, and today I'm gonna try my best, at least, to go over some Inu related Crown Tundra potential, like, drops. It is 2 days until Crown Tundra comes out, and while Inu won't get, full Evos immediately, I still think it's fun to speculate on what could come out, because the tiering announcement has been made recently in terms of like how we're going to do the tiering, and basically what's going to happen is the 9 days in October when Crown Tundra is released is going to be looked at as like a full month's worth of tiering, and that's how we're going to pretty much force some things that probably shouldn't be too highly tiered down into the lower tiers in the hopes that they get there quicker. And then we're going to take the two halves of November and treat them both as individual months as well. It's something like that. There's a thread. Smogon. But despite that, we do get NFEs. I don't think any of them are really going to be all that important, other than like these two right here. But I want to kind of talk about how I think some of these could fare in the metagame, and just like what they would do, right? I won't have something particularly inspiring to say about everything. Obviously, I think that's pretty, reasonable. Also, but just close the staff tab just because I don't like when it alerts me repeatedly. I don't think we're going to have a particularly great amount of like change come the initial release. However, let's go over this. So, before I get into this at all, obviously, if you still haven't yet, like the video. I assume likes doing something helpful. And it's always nice to see a bigger number. I always enjoy seeing that number go up. And subscribe if you haven't, man. We're trying to get to 250 by the end of the year. I think we can do it. But I need y'all's support. So let's get there. So, I think out of all the NFEs, again, they're only like these two are the only ones I think could have any impact. And I think Golbat's impact will be like pretty reasonable. It was always a really strong pick last gen. And I mean, its stats aren't anything great, right? But the big thing about Golbat is how it's a very nice, like, just fast utility mon. Poison Flying is a really good defensive typing. And what it would do, like, right now... Oh, God, I can't see a new Pokemon. Let me just get all the way down here. What it would do right now for the tier, it wouldn't necessarily be that it walls a whole lot. It does provide us another check to the fairy types, which I think is nice. Right now, a lot of teams are using, like, Wheezing and one of like the fire types. A lot of like Wheezing plus Rapidash is a common way of handling the fairies. Using a steel type is another way. But I think Golbat could help teams out a lot by just giving it a single Pokemon maybe that it can rely on. Because I know this can at least check Rabombi. And we are seeing a bit more experimentation with Whimsicott sets. We're not seeing as much Specs. We're seeing some more Subseed. And that's good for Golbat. It doesn't check Specs Whimsy too well, but Subseed it can handle very easily thanks to Infiltrator. This lets you just ignore Substitute entirely. And additionally, I think a really nice thing about Golbat is how, because it's so fast, right? I'll just put the EV spread that we ran last gen. You can get up to 286 speed really easily. And so you run, it looks like max HP, and then we'll say in Spit F. You run an EV spread like this, with an Eviolite, and you can also kind of check Gallade. A nice thing, last gen, Metagame was a really like annoying breaker, I would say, for teams, right? It was strong as hell, it had good dual stab, it had good enough coverage to where switching into it was a pretty tall order. But one of the things that you could do is if you had this immaculately EV Golbat, you'd be able to actually just outspeed and KO it with a little bit of chip, and since a lot of them ran Life Orb, it wasn't too hard to get that chip. Now, in terms of sets, I think Golbat's probably going to have just one set. The main thing is that there's going to be so many different moves that you can throw on Golbat, right? So you got like Brave Bird, you've got Taunt Toxic as options, Roost is going to be on like every set, obviously. Defog will be good, U-Turn will be good. I think Poison Fang has some use. I think Super Fang, potentially even. Poison Fang might not be as good. A big reason that you saw it last gen was because Xatu was a fairly easy Pokemon to switch into Golbat. With Helmet, you could pretty much just force it to KO itself and waste a whole bunch of Roosts. And so you saw Poison Fang start getting run so that Xatu couldn't switch in. Obviously wouldn't care about Toxic. But Poison Fang lets you, you know, get the Toxic Poison on it anyway. We might also see some, more niche sets pop up though. I know RW really like Nasty Plot Golbat. I think he used that a fair bit. And who knows, maybe we would see some like Curse Bat if the Godforsaken, well actually no, it was Nasty Plot and Curse Bat both kind of rose up as like attempts to beat Vileplume with growth. I think Nasty Plot was a little bit more successful. But yeah, I think Golbat will be a really nice utility option. And the fact that we get in 2 days is really fun. And then we get to the only other NFE that I could really conceive as being viable at all, and that's Combusken. Now, Combusken lost Sky Uppercut this generation. That was one of the deleted moves. And I'm really not sure, because Combusken's a weird mon. It lost that, and also lost Hidden Power. Both of those were very commonly run on this. Sky Uppercut was its best fighting stab move. And Hidden Power, typically Ice, was the only way it could really hit Dragon types. I say that it had, you know, stab, Focus Blast, it was going full special. I'm thinking most about Altaria. That was a big thing Combusken's pretty much dealt with in every tier that it's been allowed in, from like ZU to NU even. If you want to look at the brief shining moment Altaria was viable last gen. And so, I think Combusken's just a lot more limited now. This is in addition to losing Z moves, which I do know it ran some in lower tiers. I don't think all is lost for it. And again, a big thing to keep in mind too is we don't know what moves it'll have once the DLC does drop. Maybe it gets like close combat now, in which case Swords Dance sets could be a little bit better. But right now, your best fighting move might just be Brick Break or Low Kick. Neither of which are the most inspiring of options. They hurt your ability to, or the loss of a good fighting move hurts your ability to deal with bulky water types. And so maybe you see Combusken going with like more Thunder Punch or something, just Fire move plus Thunder Punch. Fire Electric is not the most impeccable coverage, but maybe it has to go with that. I could also see some more special sets. Losing Hidden Power sucks. Make no mistake about it. Oh, I guess Defog too is kind of cool. But you at least still have Fire Blast and Focus Blast. And in Protect will take up another slot. Right now I'm just kind of scrolling, looking and see if I could see any move that might be okay. Maybe we see Fire Blast plus Focus Blast plus Protect and then like Status, like Toxic. Another set, and I know this was ran in PU. No, it wasn't PU Violite. It was Leftover Speed Boost. What was this just disgusting thing right here? Sub-Toxic Protect Combusken. Yeah, this is dirty. To my understanding, this was run a lot on like Toxic Spikes centric builds. And yeah, very good at stalling. Very easy to accrue speed boost this way as well. And it was pretty easy to just keep the sub up, because you get sub and you get protect healing. You're healing while you're behind a sub, so your health isn't really depleting that frequently. And because of Toxic Poison, you're able to force a lot of switches, which means that there are times where you're just going to be able to start regenerating a whole bunch of health for free, because you're forcing your opponent to take turns switching out to reset poison turns. And of course, Toxic is just generally, I think, a good move for Combusken this gen, because it gives it a way to deal with bulky water types such as Jellicent, Gastrodon, Wishy-Washy. Maybe we do see some more setup-oriented sets with this Pokemon, despite the loss of some moves, and maybe even the DLC gives it some moves. Again, we have data mines to go off of, but we don't know if there's going to be like a new move to it or something in the Crown Tundra, like we had with Isle of Armor. So we'll have to see. So that little short segment covers the 2 NFEs that we'll be getting access to in 2 days that I think will have an effect on the meta. Who knows, maybe something like Gabite or Metang will somehow pick up. I think Metang will probably have unironic, like, Metang, there's no thinking. I know Metang will be unironically viable in either ZU or PU. I believe it actually had viability. I know it had viability in ZU last gen, and I think at least at some point it had PU viability. But ZU's only steel type right now is quite literally only one is Clang. and apparently it's broken, according to some people, which is kind of funny, but I'm sure ZU players will be happy to have access to another steel type. Again, Gabite, like, I just think of those two because, like, Metang's a steel type with Stealth Rock. So it must be good on, like, some team, right? Gabite is kind of fast with Stealth Rock. So maybe it's good? I don't know. I'm kind of just, hoping that we get more than just Golbat. Because Combuskin is a pretty far drop-off in my eyes in terms of, like, how good these two are. I think there's a lot of difference in viability between the two. And yeah, let's go to the next Pokemon, and we have Jinx here. Now, Jinx has been pretty potent in Inu across the generations. It was a very good lead option in DPP. You just throw a Sash on it, and you can, so long as you don't miss Lovely Kiss, like, I'm gonna go on a tangent here. So during the Inu Classic earlier this year, I think the trademark Rabia move was quite literally, if I led Jinx, I would most games miss 2 Lovely Kisses in a row, but from there, all of the luck would go in my favor. This can be confirmed through the replays too. It's kind of funny, but Sash Jinx is a very good set. In general, like I'm saying, you can pretty much guarantee. And I don't know if this is the right ability. Maybe Oblivious is better. You can pretty much guarantee a sleep. Lovely Kiss. Illegal. Was this a removed move? I wonder. This could be just something I'm not aware of. It could just be that because Jinx is the only one that learns it, it says that it's not in the tier yet. Regardless, Sash Jinx is a really good lead for, like, several reasons. One, again, you can guarantee the sleep with it. I think another, and these sets aren't, like, super common, is counter. We saw this a little bit with, like, Schneider and his Sneasel. When they call it the Schneider Sneasel last gen, where you'd lead Sneasel, maybe the opponent leads Passimian, you get U-turned on, and you just kill something with counter. And I think Jinx can do something similar. I think the big seller to it is Nasty Plot, though, plus Jinx's coverage. Ice plus Psychic plus Fighting is really hard to deal with. Oh, why? No. Damn it. I'll turn those off. Now, let me click here. Why will... Go away. Thank you. I'm so sorry, friends. But, Ice plus Psychic plus Fighting is really good, and you can tailor among those moves if you want to have a different option on there, like maybe Sub, or again, Lovely Kiss, assuming that it wasn't just removed from the game entirely. And it lets Jinx bypass a lot of his checks. I think in general, what you'd see for 2-move coverage is Ice plus Fighting. It gives you pretty much perfect coverage outside of, like, Jellicent. And I think just lead Jinx could have a really good time breaking the tier. I mean, again, consider Inu right now. The best mons to handle this would be, like, the fast fire types we have, Rapidash and Ninetales. But other than that, it's like... you're pretty much being forced to try to revenge kill Jinx. And again, the threat of sleep, like guaranteed sleep, is just so annoying. Guaranteed assuming you hit. And I call it guaranteed because of Sash. So you, like, won't ever faint turn 1. And then you can get the sleep off. And just, threaten to set up or just start breaking. Jinx is not a weak Pokemon, right? This is a big number. You do a lot of damage. Your moves are pretty reasonably high base power, all the options you can choose to use. And so, I could very easily see this being one of the better breaking options in Inu. The only issue that I think would, again, this has been constant for Jinx, how much utility does it have past the first turn? Or, like, past the early game? At least if you're using Sash. It's not to say there aren't other sets. I think Jinx has access to Trick, right? Yeah, so you could do some stuff with, like, Choice. And Jinx's coverage overall is pretty useful. Ice, Psychic, Fighting. It's got Ghost in there as well. It's got Grass, I guess. So you could even tech some other moves on there to target certain threats. So if you wanted Energy Ball or something to just immediately KO Gastrodon and to improve a Jellicent matchup, you could do something like that. We could see specs on this pretty easily. Jinx is really strong. It's got pretty decent speed as well. So I could see it being a threatening breaker in that regard too. But yeah, I I don't know if boots would get used on Jinx. I say that boots will get used on Jinx because it's weak to Stealth Rock. But I feel like there are going to be... This might be one of the mons where there are better options, despite boots being a potential one. That'll be interesting. Again, I like mons with Trick being able to use choice items, which is why I still think like Specs or Bombi, for instance, is a good pick. It's just because I think the difference between looking at Jinx and Rabombi is that Rabombi's a pivot plus a wall breaker if you're going Specs, whereas Jinx is just a wall breaker, and so Rabombi still ends up really wanting boots a lot of games so that it can pivot. Rabombi's also just easier to like wall. I think Jinx is a bit more difficult to figure out counterplay to because its coverage isn't too bad, and because of the potential for all these other sets that mandate more immediate response and more intricate response, because something like Quiver, Dancer, Bombi, most teams have a very solid answer to for. But compared to something like Nasty Plot Jinx, it's like you're just trying to revenge kill it, or hopefully that you can like try and pivot around it. So I think that'll be interesting. And next up we got Aggron here. It's a slow wall breaker. I don't know. I think right now my biggest issue with trying to figure out Aggron and how good it could be is while it's definitely more threatening than a Scavalier, because Rockhead Head Smash coming off a 110 base attack, I mean. It's just hard. It's also faster than a Scavalier, which is actually pretty big. It's just the chits to miss, man. And the fact that Aggron's defensive typing is a lot worse than a Scavalier's. Steel Rock gives you significantly more weaknesses than Steel Bug. Steel Bug actually like takes away a couple of the issues that Steel as a typing has. You don't have the ground weakness, you don't have the fighting weakness, and it gives you, I think, yeah, Scavalier only has one weakness, whereas Aggron maintains the steel weakness, or not the steel, maintains the ground weakness, maintains the fighting weakness, adds on a water weakness, adds on a grass neutrality. And there are some things, obviously, that Aggron has in terms of its defensive typing, right? It's really sturdy against flying moves. Like, this is a really good Ninjask answer, for instance. You're super bulky, you resist all the attacks it has. It's just, there are significant drawbacks to its typing that I think might end up hurting it overall. An interesting set that I definitely will want to try if we get Aggron will be Sub Punch. Sub Punch gives you Excuse Run Leftovers, is the big thing. And it also lets you take advantage of things like Mudsdale if you like Sub Magnet Rise Focus Punch. The only problem is it's like, do you actually break Mudsdale ever without T-Spike's support? I don't think so. But I have tried Subrise Subrise Aggron last gen, and I don't think it was too bad. You did have access to Z moves, which helped. You can shore up, the shaky accuracy head smash. But again, I think just being able to have this mon holding leftovers could be cool as a, means of helping its Ninjask. And again, compared just to a Scavalier, the special bulk is lacking a lot. It's just you trade off. I think there are very obvious trade-offs between both Pokemon. I think a Scavalier will end up winning out because I believe its overall better bulk and superior typing will surpass Aggron's, benefits that its typing does give, i.e. the flying resistance and speed as well. Like, again, something I cannot stress enough, Escavalier's speed is a huge hindrance and is probably the biggest reason that I'm anti-ban. Aggron being able to actually invest in speed reliably is huge. Again, this is enough. It lets you get the jump on a whole bunch of walls, like Jellicent, Garbodor, Weezing, for example. While Escavalier can't do that, even with a Jolly Nature, I think it only hits like 150. What would it be? I think it caps out at like 139, so you'd be hitting like 152. That's not enough. I'm sure there will be cases in which you can justify Aggron over Scavalier. I just don't think there will be too many of them. Anyhow, Let's go to Altaria next. Now, this should be a nice Pokemon. Altaria is a big benefactor of the removal of hidden power, because I think its biggest there were several issues that it had last gen, but one of the big issues was just Pokemon like Sceptile that you wanted to check would just pick you off with HP Ice or HP Rock if they had that, and it made Altaria a significantly less reliable answer to just random breakers. I think that was a big reason that it fell off in NU after Embor's ban as well. Embor's, like, again, Embor being so good and Altaria kind of half-assed being a half-assed check to it helped give it viability, but I think once it was gone, it's just inability to reliably handle other Pokemon made it hard to justify. But going into this gen, Removal Hidden Power helps that. Heavy Duty Boots help it a lot too. You know, not having to deal with Stealth Rock damage just means that you can pivot in a little bit more easily versus breakers. You might be able to avoid some 2-hit KOs now that you didn't last gen. And of course, it's going to do the same thing that we've always had it doing, which is something along the lines of like Flamethrowing, Defogging, Roosting. I'm just going to say Dragon Pulsing as well. I don't think it's really going to stray much from this. I think it's also cool that there will be another dragon type in the fray. Potentially, again. All these things that I say assume that we get the Pokemon. If we don't get Altaria, nothing I'm saying matters. But I do think it'll be nice to have another answer to fire types. I think teams right now are forced to like throw Wishy-Washy and their own fire types. A lot of time, a combination of the two. Just because we don't have a lot of great options. You know, our dragon types, it's either, in the case of Duraludon, they don't check fire types, at least not reliably, or in the case of Savali Dragon, there's no recovery. And Altaria, you know, doesn't suffer from either of those issues. Sure, stonewalling Ninetales and Rapidash is a really nice thing. And also gives us another option for a ground immune Pokemon. I think one of my issues with NU is that finding good ground immunes is really difficult, and this would help out. This also just blanks Mudsdale, which is kind of fun. I guess you could also run Toxic over this, so that's something I should mention. But another Mudsdale just deterrent is always good. I'd like this Pokemon. I would like it a lot. Something I don't care about though is Credilli. I don't know what this is supposed to do. I guess it's got kind of decent special. It's got decent bulk all around. Maybe it runs some like Spadef Rocks set. What abilities? We got Storm Drain, so we're immune to water. I know it has Swords Dance and Power Whip. So maybe we see some weird ass SD Stone Edge Power Whip recover set. I don't know. Yeah, I don't know. It is one of my like mons that I'm least enthusiastic about. Similar to like this guy, Armaldo. The one thing I can give Armaldo, right? Two things actually. One, it can run these. It can run the boots. And it does have Rapid Spin. So could we see a set like this? I feel like you need Earthquake, otherwise Steel types wall you. Attack stat's pretty decent. I'll just say Adamant, just hit harder off the bat. But like, could something like this be okay? Maybe? Not being able to be crit either is kind of helpful. I don't know. I don't think Armaldo has really any potential at all in the tier. But the addition of Boots is kind of cool for it. Again, there are going to be some Pokemon I have nothing to say about really at all. I mean, that's just kind of the case. Some of the drops that NU is going to get will fall to PU and ZU. And hey man, I don't think these things up ahead of time necessarily. And now let's go to Absol. So Absol's a fun case because it both enjoyed some of the Gen 8 things and dislikes some of them. One of the things it enjoys is how overall power level's down, and how if it were to drop to NU, there's a lot less competition for it right now. Sneasel and Incineroar are not in the tier. And both of those being good options throughout last generation hurt it. Sneasel being just the strong knockoff spammer with the ability to revenge kill, in its case due to high speed, but in Absol's because it had Sucker Punch. While Incineroar was just a better, slow-ish, not super fast at least, dark type wall breaker due to its superior defensive typing. And having stab on another move, it's just always nice. No longer having to deal with either of those is huge for Absol, because it makes it easier to fit on teams. The problem for Absol this generation is Pursuit is no longer in the game. And a big thing that Absol was able to do is because it was such a scary breaker plus revenge killer, it could force a lot of switches and easily trap a lot of stuff. So it's a lot more limited now this generation. I think... let's say Super Luck's probably a little bit better. May as well randomly crit more. I think a set you're likely to see would be something like this, I guess. Absol's moves that it gets are weird. But something like this could be pretty good, I think, in NU. When you consider, one, what are our knockoff switch-ins? No Z moves this gen makes knockoff, like, super easy to spam. I really, no, really, what are our knockoff switch-ins? I don't know who is coming into this mon. Because we don't even, Steelix, right? Superpower, that's mostly just filler. But, Superpower was able to remove Steelix last gen after, a knockoff and maybe a little bit more chip. But realistically, I feel like knockoff can solo break most teams. Let's go down to NU right now. Who's switching into knock from this? Maybe Fizdef or Aromatisse? Girder once, I guess. Mudsdale once. Physically defensive Poliwrath. I guess a Lowland Persian too. But yeah, Absol's gonna be very weird to deal with. Could potentially pick off Ninjask, which is fun. You can force it to try to waste all 8 of your suckers. I'm okay with that. But Absol's looking really hard to stop. And I do still have to question if it really matters that it looks nearly unwallable, because last gen it looked nearly unwallable. And there were factors that caused it to suffer. This gen, it looks nearly unwallable. What factors are there that might cause it to suffer? Well, fairy types are everywhere, and we've seen what that did to Sylvally Dark. And Sylvally Dark even's a little bit faster. At least comparable in strength. So I don't really know how well Absol will be able to, make up for that. We get the Wall Rain. I don't care about Wall Rain. It got some new moves this gen, right? Didn't it get, Icicle Spear or something? Okay, so it doesn't say that it has it here, but I believe I've heard that it gets Icicle Spear and Swords Dance. Again, data mine tells us that it has those moves, so PS isn't going to implement it until they're actually released. I guess that could be funny. I don't know what this mon's gonna do. Stall Rain is always an option, I guess. Yeah, this mon sucks. And so does Relicanth. This is just bad, Aggron. If you want to, boringly slow rock type, it gets a little faster. It's bad Aggron. And then we get the Regirock. Now, I added Regirock here. And Regice. Low-key, maybe these could be a little bit better in a higher tier, but I still put them here. Because, hey, I want to talk about if they were in the tier, how good they'd be. Come on now, give me that. Regirock gets body press this gen, and that is so nice for it. Look at this. Now look, obviously you aren't going to try to invest in a whole lot of defense for Regirock. It's just not worth it. You want to make this mon overall bulking. So a lot of people will do things like this and then maybe go Impish if they want a little bit more physical bulk. But body press is just generally nice because if you wanted it steel types previously, what you're relying on is Drain Punch and Earthquake. Body press is a little bit weaker than Earthquake obviously, but it works off of this stat. As opposed to this little, depressing number. Working off this big Chadley abundance of strength. And oh my lord, I want to press people into the ground. We've seen in PU that Regirock can perfectly coexist with Mudsdale, even if Mudsdale's another viable rocker, so I don't have any worries for it there. Is there really anything that I would worry about it trying to contend with? Not really. If anything, it would give us another, like, or it would finally give us a viable rock type, because Regirock can actually handle the fire types in the tier. It doesn't care about... Obviously, it getting poisoned is similarly annoying for if Rhydon gets poisoned. And they both have comparable physical bulk. The main thing's the Ninetales matchup, right? You're just so much bulkier on the special side. And in addition to that, you're not weak to Energy Ball in the same way that Rhydon's weak to it. You know, Rhydon gets an Energy Ball to the face and it's like, oh, I'm gone now, I guess. Regirock's like, oh, that kind of tickled. Haha, would you like to hit me again? Wink, wink, nudge, nudge. So, that's just really helpful. It also probably just blanket checks a lot of the Silvalley's, like, out of meta relevance, which is kind of funny. Damn, man. Remember we wanted Silvalley banned. It also is another Ninjask answer, which, again, I think people would generally like. This mod will be good. Again, I don't see us deviating much beyond, like, Stealth Rock, Stone Edge, Body Press, and then, like, what? Protect, or random status like T-Wave or Toxic? But this will be one of the better rockers in the tier, should we get it. At least I assume it will. Maybe it'll fall out of relevancy, who knows. But hey. When did we get to, like, this? Again, this is a mod that I put here and have some hopes for, because Heavy Duty Boots, at least, gives it something. And Ice actually has, like, really good coverage, too. Yeah, like, Ice Beam, Thunderbolt, Focus. That's nice. Well, Focus Blast. And then maybe you could do some, like, filler moves, like, I thought Regice learned Agility. Okay, I'm wrong. I guess Thunder Wave. And that just seems like it's pretty much the same as Agility anyway. And it's also just generally annoying to deal with. Random Mon paralyzing you. You try to figure out how to switch around its coverage and decent strength. It just keeps paralyzing your whole team and you're just like, please stop, sir. I think this could be... Yeah, that's a lot of special bulk, there you go. I don't have very high hopes for Regice. My only, like, hopes for it come in the form of it blanket checking some special attackers and having decent enough coverage to threaten a wide enough variety of Pokemon to where you can't just hope to wall it with, like, you know, any blanket special wall in the tier that you find. Yeah. I don't know. I don't see it doing much. I swear to Spawn learned Agility at one point. Anyhow. So next up, Spiritomb. Kind of forgot this mon was being given to us in DLC. It has Poltergeist now, but it lost Pursuit. So I really don't know how to feel about it. Now, it still has Pressure, and we've seen Crotomb be generally decent at certain points in the tier. I mean, at one point in NU last gen, Spiritomb was good, but it had Pursuit. So again, I'm just not sure what to make of it. It's a Gallade counter, which is cool. But It just isn't a mon that I'm very hyped for. Electivire I think could be okay. You know, it's a pretty decent wall breaker in terms of how powerful it is and how fast it is. And it's got really good coverage too. Even without hidden power, you learn Ice Punch, so you don't even need HP Ice. Ice Punch, Cross Chop, Earthquake, Fire Punch, whatever physical electric move you want. I think the big thing for, if you even want to look at the removal of hidden power as a, nerf to Electivire, it's that it can't go HP Grass. And that was its best way to hit Gastrodon previously. So Gastro is just a straight up counter to this now. Again, I think it could be okay. I just don't really have that much faith in Electivire. Like, it's weird, right? Electivire on paper isn't really that easily walled by anything outside of just random, blanket checks depending on how it goes in terms of its attacking moves, physical, mixed, special. But it always feels like it's lacking something, and I think it's because Electivire is strong, but it's not strong enough. You get me? I think it might have some niche, though. I also think it might just fall to PU and then we'll stop talking about it immediately upon it falling to PU. Regigigas is here next. Now, the nice thing for Regigigas this gen is they actually gave it some moves to try to help it get slow start done and dealt with. And they also gave it Toxic, so it has Protect, it has Rest. I don't know if it always had Sub, but I think it did. I feel like I remember running some annoying Sub T-Wave Headbutt set back in like Gen 5 or something. But they gave it Toxic now, so it's less passive even when slow starts activated. They gave it Protect, so it can waste its turns, and they gave it Rest. So could this be an okay Pokemon? I mean, you look at these stats, right? These are really good. It's just... It's 5 turns of depression when you use this Pokemon. It probably will still be depression when you use this Pokemon. I don't think Regigigas could even boost it all, right? It is knockoff. That's actually pretty usable. Hey, we might find a check. Yo, somehow them removing Return hurt Regigigas just as much as all the additions helped it. The fuck am I using for like a normal move now? Double Edge? It doesn't even learn that. Okay, Facade, I guess? Oh no. Aldino is a huge buff for every Stall team. Oh my lord. And now Stall gets... I guess that Stall is Aromatisse right now, but Stall gets another option as a Wish Passer. The big thing though is Regenerator, and I think every Audino we see is going to be this exact set without fail. Something like this. Wish Protect... Oh, I forgot. Wish Protect is not a move. It's Wish and then Protect. So we'll see Wish, Protect, and we'll see like Knockoff. And we'll see like Heal Bell, we'll see like Dazzling Gleam, maybe, if they need like a panic button to press against something that Gleam hits. This is a huge addition for Stall. I don't really have anything to say beyond that. But, again, this Mon is a big help. Normal's a shit defensive typing, it's just... Aromatisse has Wish and the ability to be a Cleric. Aldino has Regenerator, which lets it scout stuff. It has Wish, it has a potential to be a Cleric, and it's got Knockoff as well. And it can run Boots a lot more easily because of Regenerator. So, I don't know, you take your pick. Which one do you like? Aromatisse with its typing and a little bit less passivity issues? Or Audino with everything else that it gets? Caracosta will be a pretty possible Shell Smash sweeper, but no HP Grass is a little annoying, I would say, just because we might have Pokemon at some point that you want to hit with HP Grass. I mostly think I like Gastrodon when I say that. I guess even Poliwrath, kind of, but Poliwrath isn't very viable. It has to contend with Kingler as well, which is just always a little bit annoying. Now we look at Aurorus. I know Aurorus gets Meteor Beam, according to, like, data mine stuff. Sounds pretty awful, though. And I think the main issue for Aurorus will be, how do you justify it over Vanillix? Now, my immediate answer is coverage. It's a little bit better. You've got Earth Power. You're not as strong, but you're still strong enough. The more dire thing for Aurorus, despite it having coverage, Stealth Rock even... as well, I guess we could throw in there, is the typing is just somehow even worse than Mono Ice. I don't know how it manages to get worse, but it does. Refrigerate does open up some possibilities for Aurorus, though, as like a different... This is just like a standalone breaker of sorts, because you can go like Hyper Voice with this. So maybe it's not all doomed. And we have seen that Vanillix is sort of limiting itself currently in the generation to being just a very supportive presence with like Aurora Veil and then going like Boots or Light Clay instead of going for Specs. So I think Aurorus could at least try to have some sort of discernible niche as a breaker and of course, you know, like an offensive Stealth Rocker. Maybe we see Aurorus form some Hail Cores with, you know, Lowland Sandslash. I just think Vanillix pairs so well with it because of Aurora Veil using setup, but we'll see, we'll see. I'm actually genuinely intrigued about Aurorus. I think its prospects are a little bit less obvious. That's kind of fun. And then we get to this Pokemon. It was Ninjask, and it can be on like a Trick Room, I guess. Anyhow, that's it. I just don't really care about Carbink one bit. I'm so sorry. But I'm pretty excited for the DLC. I'm happy we'll be getting Golbat. And wow, I didn't realize I've been recording for 40 minutes. It feels like it's been 12 years since I talked about Golbat. I think Golbat will be really nice to get. And I think some of the other things we get from this could be at least fun as well. Again, like assuming that things like Altaria, Regirock, Absol, those will be like probably pretty good. Everything else, we'll see everything else. We'll see how they pan out. I think the main thing that you should look forward to is seeing how the DLC drops. And when I say DLC drops, I mean like good stuff, you know, like Ultra Beasts, Tapus, other legendaries. How those affect the trickle down of Pokemon. Because then you will get a whole bunch more Pokemon from the higher tiers. You know, do we get like things like Decidueye back? Do we get Steelix ever this gen? Does Copperajah somehow accidentally fall? Oh god, please don't give me that Pokemon. I do not want it. But yeah. These Pokemon, again, a lot of these Pokemon are going to end up PU or below. Genuinely, I think maybe like 4 of these will be... 4 of these maximum could be good in NU long term. And I would say like Regirock, Altaria, Golbat, and Absol are those 4. Actually, no, 5. I'll say Jinx as well. I think she could be pretty decent. It's just everything else is so, you know, wishy-washy. I don't really care about it. Hence, I'm more excited for what like November and its tier shifts are gonna bring us. You know, it'll be really fun to see what we get once, you know, at the beginning of November, in the middle of November, and I guess even December. Because that will be the second half of November. Leave your thoughts down below on what you all are excited for the DLC drops. It'll be another big shakeup to the metagame. You know, NU hasn't had plenty of those already this generation. But hey, if we get more Pokemon to use, I'll be excited. It'll give me more random, you know, cores to look at trying to build out, which is always entertaining. Until then, though. I hope you enjoy the rest of your day, your morning, your afternoon, your evening, your Sunday, your Monday, your Tuesday, your February, your summer, your winter, whatever the hell it is. And I'll see you guys next time. Peace.